college to play baseball, and during his first semester, that is where he tore his labrum in his shoulder. He continued to practice the first semester with the torn. He got through the practice with painkillers, and he would take as many as 8 hydrocodones to get through practice. During spring break, he had his shoulder surgery, and it is that probably time that the addiction, because of the 8 pills during practice to get through, he definitely had a full-blown addiction to hydrocodone. The thing with painkillers is your kids don't smell any different, they don't act any different. They're not, when they drank something or taking something, obviously like meth or something, I'm sure that you can tell the difference. But with a painkiller, most of the time it's have a tolerance built up, you can't tell the difference in your child. Fast forward to February 2012. Jordan decides that he has messed with pills long enough and he looks for treatment. The problem is Jordan doesn't fit the normal mold of an addict. Treatment centers want to take him in-house because his addiction isn't bad enough. In Jordan's search for help, he even visited the Lafayette House, which is a shelter for battered women. All he did was look in the phone book and found a number of drug facilities. And this makes me laugh because this is such a naive thing that he would do. He eventually found the Celebrate Recovery program, and that really worked for him. He got a new phone number and deleted all the phone numbers of the people that sold him pills before. He was moving up at his job. He spent his free time with his family, watching his brothers play baseball and spend time with his little sister. Things are going great for him. He was the athlete. He was Jordan. We still had no idea about the problem and the severity of it. We did later learn, a few months later, that he did tell us he was struggling with pills, and he decided he wanted to get counseling. Quite honestly, I didn't know anything about prescription drug addiction. I thought it wasn't a big deal, because I couldn't tell the difference in his personality. He was still the same kid that I never saw him crying. It was still Jordan I always knew, and Jordan's friends didn't even know he took pills. It was his secret. Fast forward to February 2012. Jordan decides that he has messed with pills long enough and he looks for treatment. The problem is Jordan doesn't fit the normal mold of an addict. Treatment centers want to take him in-house because his addiction isn't bad enough. In Jordan's search for help, he even visited the Lafayette House, which is a shelter for battered women. All he did was look in the phone book and found a number of drug facilities. And this makes me laugh because this is such a naive thing that he would do. He was very naive. He eventually found the Celebrate Recovery program, and that really worked for him. He got a new phone number and deleted all the phone numbers of the people that sold him pills before. He was moving up at his job. He spent his free time with his family, watching his brothers play baseball and spend time with his little sister. Things are going great for him. The week before he passed away, he played in an alumni baseball game with his brothers and his dad, and it was neat to see them all play together. He did injure himself probably that game. He had complained of his shoulder, but Jordan wasn't one to sit and complain much, so a lot of times you could not tell he was hurt. The Sunday before he died, we spent the day at his grandma's house swimming with his little sister. It was a great day. He told me and his grandma how blessed he had been and how God had blessed him with his addiction, and he was so happy. He told me he couldn't wait to be a dad, and he was ready for that. He also told me he wanted to have his shoulder fixed again before he had kids so he could play catch with them and teach them how to throw a ball and play baseball. Jordan said he wanted to wait until there was a way he could do it without taking medicine. This was the happiest I had ever seen my son, and he was making grown-up decisions. But for some reason, he was in touch with an old contact that had sold him pills before. And I believe Jordan asked for hydrocodone. The guy didn't have it and suggested a fentanyl patch. 100 mic fentanyl patch. Jordan didn't even know what that was. I believe he even stated that in his texts back to the guy. They met got the patch, he put it on and went to bed. On Wednesday, about 3:10, I hadn't heard from Jordan, and I had called and texted him, and he usually responds. I asked my brother to run by the house and check on him. He was supposed to be at work, but his car was at home. My brother goes by the house and checks on him and calls me back and tells me he's sleeping. I asked my brother to go back in the house and wake him up and tell him to call his mom. He argues with me, gets mad at me, and tells me my son has to be responsible for his own decisions. I beg him to go back in and wake him up and tell him to call me. When he goes back in and enters the room, he hears Jordan's 6 a.m. alarm going off. It had snoozed the first time my brother went into the room. When he turned on the lights, his first thought is that Jordan had been into a fight because his face was bloated and blue. And when my brother touches Jordan's legs to shake him and wake him up, his whole body moves. He realizes that he's dead, and he's been dead for several hours. He immediately calls me back with the news, and I was at the Oak Park Mall by myself. My husband had dropped me off on Bellas with the kids. After that phone call, life has been to have changed. My heart broke. This bill is not about my son. This bill is about changing the situation. Do I think my son played no part in his own death? No, it is about accountability. I know he screwed up that night, and I do believe he was ignorant and didn't know what he was taking, but I also believe he's being held accountable because he's dead. His whole family and all of his friends are being held accountable because we have to live without him. My hope in passing this bill is a person or a drug dealer will think twice about giving or selling drugs to another person. Maybe if they realize that they can be charged with felony murder and it will stick, they will think twice about giving drugs or selling it. I am sure part of the argument is that the person that is addicted is asking for it. And that's true. A person will find drugs if they want drugs. And my prayer is that Jordan's death can save someone else's heartache. Passing this bill will most likely not keep all drug dealers off the streets, but if it keeps one from selling, to me it's worth it. And if it keeps one from dying